Alright, the reason we're doing these reviews, we're of course getting you guys ready for Thor Ragnarok, which I cannot wait. It's on one of our most anticipated lists, which we did earlier in the year. So we're going to be reviewing Thor, The Dark World, one of my favorite films in the MCU, and also we're going to be reviewing one of the more underrated films in the MCU, The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. Now, Thor came out in 2011. It was directed by Kenneth Branagh. If you know who Kenneth Branagh is, he actually played Gilderoy Lockhart, which he was an amazing character in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. He also directed a few other films, The Hamlet in 1996, as well as Henry V. I really thought he did a really good job with this film, and I remember seeing this film in 2011 being really pumped and excited after seeing the trailers. And I gotta say, after rewatching it, I still think it's a very good origin story, and I still think it holds up today. I really, really enjoy this film. And again, what I love about this film is it does a great job with Thor, where he matures a lot as a character, and he just learns a lot in humility and what it takes to be a worthy and good king. And I think it's just really well done.
Yeah, you definitely see his arc where he goes from, at the very beginning, he's so arrogant, all he wants to do is fight and go to war, and he takes his friends into Jotunheim, and he just tries to fight everybody. Then he obviously gets banished by his dad, and he has to learn all this humility when he has no Asgardian powers, where he's more mortal in his mortal form. So yeah, you definitely see from the beginning where he's all like that, and at the end he basically sacrifices himself. So he goes from one end to the other. That's how he gets his powers back. So
if you watch some of the scenes where, like, for instance, he's trying to get Mjolnir back, he thinks he's trying to get his way through brute force, beating all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and guards there, and he sees that he's not. It's again what Odin say, that only someone who's worthy could grab that hammer and possess the power of Thor. So, and I love when we see that look on Thor's face when he realizes he's never getting his power back, and he thinks all is lost, but he sees that glimmer of hope still. And again, I love his arc through that. But I think what I love the most about this movie is it gives us the origin of one of my favorite MCU characters, if not my favorite one, Loki, which we'll talk about him in a second. I just want to mention really quick about Chris Hemsworth. I think he is perfect casting in this. He is terrific as Thor. Like, he really embodies the character from what you saw in the comic books. He's got that like you said, that arrogant, that cockiness, but on the other side, he's got a vulnerable, softer side to him where he learns that humility. He understands what it takes, to be, like we said, to be worthy. So I do think he does a great job of balancing out that cocky and arrogant side while, also having that softer, vulnerable
and he really
side.
Gets the humor down too. A lot of a lot of the comedic delivery he has is perfect. Where, what is this drink? I like it. Another!
Yeah.
That's a great scene. And then, I don't know, just a bunch of small scenes here and there. He just...
True, but I supported you, Sif. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. And yeah, I think you got it right. Chris Hemsworth was a great choice. Obviously, he has the physique down, and he has the look, and again, the delivery of basically all his lines were really good. I would have loved to see a Thor Midgard line, but...
yes!
I mean...
Earth's Mightiest Hero fans, you'll know what we're talking about.
No, just even the comic Thor. Like, whenever Thor goes into battle, at least on Earth, he'll yell, "For Midgard!" with his hand.
No, you're right, but I'm just talking about on Earth's Mightiest Hero.
Volstagg does have a for Asgard, but it's not quite the same.
Wrong guy! It should have been Thor. Now
I know.
I'm with you, though.
But I think you're right. For me, the main part of this movie is seeing Loki's kind of backstory, where we see him kind of growing up with Thor, them as kids, and then we see when Thor is about to be named king, he kind of looks very jealous and, feeling like he deserves the throne, so he kind of spoils that a little bit, as we find out later in the movie. And just the whole way that he kind of goes about everything, you really can see, like, how... I don't want to say evil, but I just want to say, like, conniving and very tricky and very, he's the trickster god, pretty much, so he...
the god of mischief.
Exactly. I really liked his performance, and Tom Hiddleston is just an amazing actor.
Oh, yeah, no, the emotional pull and weight that he does, especially the scene where he's with Odin, tell me! Just, again, the emotion and the conveyance in his face. And he's standing up with Anthony Hopkins in the scene, and actually I can make a case he's standing out even more than him. Yeah. So, and that's one of the most powerful actors there in Anthony Hopkins. So he just does such a terrific job of, not taking you away from the scene, but just being in awe of just how incredible his performance is, while at the same time understanding his motivations and where he's coming from. And also, too, just speaking about, we talked about Chris Hemsworth being perfect casting. Tom Hiddleston, to me, is perfect casting as Loki. And if you've ever watched this channel before, you know that I have a Mount Rushmore of comic book castings, and they are Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and Tom Hiddleston as Loki. And what I love about him, it's his intellectual complexity. He's got such a fine sense of humor and such a darkness about him that he just draws you in. And again, you just understand his motivations and why he feels the way he does about Thor. And everything is all about getting the approval of his dad and being worthy in his mind. So it's a very interesting take on the character. And I like I said, Tom Hiddleston is amazing in each film. He just keeps getting better and better and keeps making you get that much more invested in the character.
Yeah, and he really conveys like how smart Loki is too. Like even at the very beginning, he's the one who really convinces Thor to go into Jotunheim and fight everyone. He's like, "No, you should not do this." But then he knows how to play his brother, and even in every aspect of his plan, he just executes it perfectly. And I think he's probably the best villain in the Marvel universe. But even in this movie, he's just such a good villain.
No, you're absolutely right, and I can even make a little bit of an argument that even though he definitely has villain qualities and tendencies, everything is more misguided to the point of he's doing everything to get his father's approval, and I could say more that Laufey is the main villain, but no, he definitely has villainous qualities.
He's the antagonist to Thor's protagonist.
Definitely, no, I agree with that. Alright, so now we're going to talk about Sir Anthony Hopkins, and if you're going to get somebody to run the Marvel cinematic, or rather the Marvel universe, you get Hannibal Lecter, and Anthony Hopkins is, again, he's terrific as Odin. As the All-Father, again, the scenes that we're just seeing, the conveyance on his face, seeing how hurtful it is to banish his son, seeing how hurtful it is to see how his son's not ready. It's just, again, even though this is a superhero film, I love the drama and the backstory in it because it just gets you that much more invested to when we do get cool action sequences. You're more invested in the story because of the dramatic weight and tension that's going on. And Anthony Hopkins has a lot to do with that because you feel that emotion that he feels towards both his sons, but especially towards Thor because he's clearly, like, he sees what Asgard would be if Thor is in charge when all he wants to do is go to war and fight all the time. So, he has a purpose from everything he does, and he's very wise, and I just loved his performance.
And just all the delivery of his lines are perfect, too. Very powerful when they need to be, and then very heartfelt when they need to be as well. And
all right, so now we're going to talk really quickly about Natalie Portman. She's very gorgeous. She's a very good actress. Of course, if you've ever seen her in Black Swan, she's terrific. So yeah, she's phenomenal. Actually, I really don't mind her performance in the film. She's fine. I just think the way the character is written, I just don't find her particularly interesting, and I don't really buy her that much as an astrophysicist or whatever she does. I just don't. That's again me personally. I'm not saying it's on her. I'm just saying the character in general to me is not written in a way where I find her interesting. The chemistry between her and Chris Hemsworth is very good, and I do find myself somewhat invested in the relationship in the first movie. Definitely not in the second movie as much.
I just think they went too much into the love story aspect of it. Like, I mean, obviously she is the love interest, but her only memorable scenes, if you want to call them memorable, are like when they're being all lovey-dovey and he's explaining, the 9 realms and that kind of thing. But I mean, as for a character, I think Selvig was way more interesting. He even had good interactions with Thor, like when they're at the bar and stuff, and when he goes to get him from S.H.I.E.L.D. Speaking of S.H.I.E.L.D., I really love seeing Coulson back in this movie. I thought he was hilarious. Many, many funny scenes. And it was cool to see S.H.I.E.L.D.'s whole organization, like when they surrounded the Hammer Mjolnir, and like basically he was talking with Thor, like, where'd you get your training, that kind of thing. And
that was funny.
I just love seeing Coulson in this movie. I wish they hadn't have killed him off in Avengers, but
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. is good. It's a good show, but it's not the same as if he was in the movies. I kind of miss him in the universe.
Yeah, no, he's, no, you're right, and obviously we've seen the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement Logistics Division. We've seen them before in, we gotta work on that shield, right? We've seen them before, obviously, we've seen Clark Gregg in Iron Man and Iron Man 2. And again, I just love, again, what he brings to this film. He brings that sense of humor, and also he brings that connection or that bridge, or the Bifrost, if you will, in this film, to the rest of the MCU from the other films. So, and I like how it also shows that S.H.I.E.L.D. is really watching over, like, catastrophic events, which is getting ready to lead you into the Avengers. So they're doing a good job of not taking you out of the story and focusing on that, but it is a part of the story. And obviously there's still the main part of the story with Thor having to become, reclaim his worthiness to Asgard, but also there's the side story, which is still fun and compelling at the same point, which is setting you up and getting you ready for the Avengers, which is still interesting because Clark Gregg is so cool. I believe this is also the first time we get to see the treacherous Agent Sitwell, baldy head with the glasses, saying, "Is that one of Stark's?" Of course,
Is it the first time we see him?
I could be totally wrong.
He's in a bunch of the movies.
You are right. I could be totally wrong. If I am, please make me look like a dumbass in the comments and tell me which movie he was in before that. Otherwise, then I guess I'm going to look smart.
We also got to see Hawkeye for the first time.
Yes,
not much of a role in this movie, just kind of in the one scene.
Yeah,
but
that was cool.
You got to see a little bit of into who his character is, kind of fast talking, making a lot of jokes, and he's like, you better tell me now. I'm starting to root for this guy, kind of thing.
Because he's about to be his teammate, man.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston, they are so good together. Their chemistry, you really feel the sense of history that they have as brothers. How Loki just has that hatred towards him, that jealousy towards him, because he feels that his father loves him, that much more. So they just do such a great job of really conveying that history that they have with each other, while at the same time getting humorous lines in, and again, just building that emotional weight to the story and that investment in these characters, because it's at an all-time high. Just in the first scene when he's just manipulating him little by little into going to Yoda,
Yep.
I'm like, I found myself so invested in them the first time I was in theaters. I'm like, I love these two already, and like we haven't even gotten to the grunt of what's going on story-wise. So obviously at this point, I'm beyond invested in them, going into Thor Ragnarok, but they're so good together. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the music in this. We got Patrick Doyle, who also did Henry V, of course, with Kenneth Branagh. I believe he did do Hamlet in 1996. Could be wrong on that one. But he, of course, did the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. He's the one who relieved John Williams of his duties after Prisoner of Azkaban. I really like that score of Goblet of Fire, by the way. But getting to Thor, he gives a great score in this. I like the theme he gives Thor in this, and also I just love throughout the action scenes and the dramatic moments how he conveys how you're supposed to feel. I think the two moments that I would like, the music just gets all bombastic-y and amazing for me, just in terms of memory. The scene where Thor is trying to pull out Mjolnir, you hear it like it's got the music playing where you think he's gonna grab it, like it's like, yep, Thor's won, he's gonna grab the hammer, and then all of a sudden he can't have it anymore, and then all hope is lost, and then you get that symbol, and then all hope is there is a glimmer of hope, and I just love how the music just conveys exactly what you're supposed to be feeling and thinking.
And a good score shit.
Yeah, exactly, and also too, I think the moment where Thor is fighting the Destroyer and just charges at him like full on. With Mjolnir, like that was the music that was playing, just so freaking epic, and I loved it. And again, Patrick Doyle has a really good score, and I don't believe he did Thor: The Dark World. I think that was Brian Tyler, but I would have preferred him to come back, but he really did give a really good score in this. I think my two favorite sets were Odin's Vault and probably the Bifrost. I think those would be
the Bifrost was sick.
The only thing that, in my opinion, was missing from the Bifrost was the Mario Kart members driving around. That, to me, that's the only thing missing. But otherwise, I thought it was perfect representation of what the Bifrost is. Even though in the comics it's more of just an actual physical bridge that goes. This is more of an energy-based bridge, which I think is more appropriate because a lot of the themes in these movies are science and magic. So I think it goes a lot more with the theme.
But another good part about the Rainbow Bridge is that you got Heimdall chilling there.
Hell yeah!
Freaking Idris Elba is just a great character.
Yeah.
Like, he's doesn't have as much to do in this movie as he does in some of the other ones. I do love the scene where he's like standing up to Loki and Loki freezes him, but then he busts out of it and takes all those other guys down. So the Frost Giants, but love Heimdall too.
Let's get into the humor a little bit of this film. I thought the humor was very well done in this film for the most part. I didn't really feel too much that there were any forced humor moments. I thought it was very organic. I also thought too, I really appreciated that in moments that are very humorless, there weren't some humor in humorless moments. And not that I don't mind humor every once in a while, but in moments that don't really call for it and they have, I'm like, I wanted to feel the weight and the dramatic moment and tension of that situation. Why did you have to break it with the joke there? So I thought they did a really good job of, like I said, not having humor and humorless moments and just making it very organic, especially with Loki, Lady Sif, the Warriors 3 with Hogan, Fandral, and Volstagg. They had a lot of comedic banter and timing. And of course, Chris Hemsworth. He's got some great comedic one-liners, like what you said. The string, I like it. Another, and then I need a horse. Like there's just
I think my favorite line though that he says, he's talking to Coulson and he calls him son of Cole.
Yeah.
So funny. I just was cracking up. That. I don't know why.
Know this, son of Cole. You and I fight for the same cause, the protection of this world.
So good.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, his delivery and like I said, the humor very organic in this. Now in this film, the action is really good in my opinion. They don't have a crazy amount of action.
Yeah.
We got about 3 action sequences. We got the battle on Jotunheim with
the
Thor.
best one.
Yeah, I agree. We're gonna get to that in a sec. The battle on Jotunheim with Lady Sif, the Warriors 3, Loki, and Thor. We got battling the Frost Giants. We got, of course, the Loki, or rather Thor versus the Destroyer in New Mexico, and we also got Loki versus Thor in the Bifrost. So let's really quickly talk about the first battle, which I agree with Jason. It is the best battle, and it's really
the most action.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think just seeing the power of Thor, how he's single-handedly able to kill so many of the glass, wheeling around Mjolnir and then throwing around, and the cockiness of, at least make it a challenge for me. Just like, that's more like it. Like, I just love that warrior mentality he's got, that sense of history I feel from him when he's got, like, he's been through so many battles, and just seeing him kick ass and watching the Lady Sif and the Warriors, it's awesome. I love it.
And then, yeah, the one against the Destroyer in New Mexico, like, you see when he finally gets his powers back, and I love just seeing him, like, with the hammer just flying up above. It was such a cool shot.
Hell yeah.
And he goes straight down through it. I thought that one was cool, but it was a little short. But and then the one against Loki, I think, is great too, just because of the emotional weight that it has between that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and also the emotional weight we feel from the second scene where Thor has just finally become worthy. He's finally realized fighting in brute force is not going to solve this issue. I have to sacrifice myself and do this for my friends and for this town. But it shows like who he is and what he's made of. That he really is a hero. And it just adds so much more flair and dramatic tension and so much more satisfaction to the scene when you see the action, because, again, him reclaiming his power and he really being a worthy hero at this point, because, like we said, he sacrificed himself as a mortal to protect the town and protect everyone he loves. It's really a beautiful origin story of a hero, in my opinion.
Yeah, then Loki just backhands him.
Yeah,
to
with
death,
the Destroyer.
apparently.
Yeah, but I do like how the Destroyer, how he kind of makes it stop for a second. Then you think that he's kind of convinced Loki, and then nope, that's why he's the god of. But that's why he's the god of mischief. Like he makes you think, I got you one way, but no, I'm lying. I got you. So, but I like that moment, and of course the battle between Loki and Thor. I thought it was, again, the emotional weight you feel in that because of everything Loki's going through at that point, and Thor, after him his brother just tried to kill him, so imagine how he's feeling at that point. It is a great fight and battle between them. My only issue, which we'll get to in the flaws, a lot of it is very fast cut, which I noticed rewatching it. This time I didn't really realize that the first few times I'd watched that, but rewatching I did notice there are a lot of fast cut and edits, and I would have, again, I'm very, very picky about that in my in watching action sequences. I really like to see what's going on. I like long tracking shots and just seeing the actors really work. Watch John Wick. Other action, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Daredevil. When you watch those action sequences, you can IP Man, you can really see what's going on in those action sequences. And I just would have liked a little more of that in the Loki Thor battle. But again, the emotional weight you feel in that scene satisfies me to the point where I kind of forgive it a little bit, but it is still a little bit of a flaw to me throughout the film. Really wish at some point, if not in Thor Ragnarok, we need to get a for Midgard!
I know.
We need to get that line.
It should have been as he came down against the Destroyer. That's what it should have been right there.
I'd be down. Or
all I had to do was just overdub it.
I would totally be down. We should make our own version of Thor and overdub it just like that.
Everything's exactly the same, just except for
we'll
that
just
line.
call it the ultimate version, or we can call it the Midgard version, whatever.
The for Midgard version.
Yeah, the for Midgard version. All right, so finishing off the review, I really like Thor a lot. It's a very good origin story. It's got great acting especially by Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston and most of the other cast. It's got really good direction by Kenneth Branagh. The visuals are really trippy and really cool and very, very bombastic. I really like especially Asgard. We didn't get to, of course, explore Asgard a lot, but I thought the really good visuals of Asgard and some of the other fights. The action is pretty well done. Could have maybe had a little bit more, but really well done action. The story is a good emotional pull. It has a good emotional pull. It's got good weight on it. There's a lot of depth in this film, and like I said, it's a very, very. The cinematography is very well done, and it's a very good origin story for the Norse god of thunder. And I'm gonna give Thor an 8.4 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it is a really good origin story. You get to see a little bit of Thor growing up with his brother Loki, and just kind of seeing their dynamic back and forth. Really, it's an origin story for both of those characters, and both characters I really like a lot in this whole Marvel series. Pretty good action. Like it's a very fun movie to watch. There's humor, but not too much. And it just flows pretty well. It's just a well done movie for a superhero movie. So I'm gonna go with the score of 8, I think. And yeah, I really like this one a lot. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments section. We are gonna be reviewing Thor: The Dark World as well as Ragnarok when that movie comes out. So be on the lookout for those. And if you guys like these videos, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.